What's going on, y'all? Machiavelli Mills TV. So look, y'all, one of my favorite podcasts to watch is the I Am Athlete podcast with Brandon Marshall, Channing Crowder, Chad Ocho Cinco Johnson, and my boy, big homie, Fred Taylor, right? And on this podcast, they posed an interesting topic, man. It sparked me to make this video, and it sparked me to have conversations with several of my friends and family, right? And so Chad Johnson was making a point that athletes don't have to go to an Alabama. They don't have to go to a Florida State. They don't have to go to an Ohio State to get to the NFL. You don't have to depend on those schools to get you where you want to go. You can go to an HBCU, be a prominent athlete, and still get to the league because the scouts leave no stone unturned, right? You can still go to these other schools. You don't have to go to those predominantly white institutions. You can go to a HBCU and thrive there and level the playing field at an HBCU, and at the same time get to the promised land. So I posed this question to my friends. I said, if your child was a top 10 player in high school basketball or football, whatever, would you send your child to a powerhouse program, or would you send them to a historically black college, right? And I got mixed answers, and I know they depend on several different. It depends on several different things, right? Everybody's situation is different. If you're a family who you're struggling financially, right? And and you're a kid, your family is struggling financially, and you have the opportunity to get your family out of poverty, then going to one of those schools and those Power 5 conferences may be the best option for you. It may be the best option for you to go to Ohio State, to go to Alabama, to go to LSU, to go to Florida, to go to Florida State, so on and so forth. Because that puts you on a better trajectory to get to the league based upon the resources that those Power 5 schools have. Right? And I ain't mad at that. I'm not mad at that at all. But if you're a kid who's coming from a situation where you may be in a much better position than a lot of your other teammates, right? Not saying you rich, but you're middle class, your family not hurting for money, and you're a top tier talent in basketball or football, then I would encourage going to an HBCU, right? And I understand different strokes for different folks, and it is completely different in basketball compared to football, because in basketball, one player can change the outlook of an entire program. They can change everything, right? In football, one player cannot change an entire team. However, in football, if a group of 4- and 5-star kids go to an HBCU, things could change. The playing field can level out, and you can shake the table to where HBCUs become the mainstay or the hotbed for all the top tier talent like they used to be in the 70s, the 60s, even the 80s. You know what I'm saying? When all the black talent was coming from the historically black colleges and universities, right? In order for the change to occur, in order for HBCUs to be able to get top tier black talent, and for like the black athletes, the young black athletes, to help funnel resources into the universities from their athletic prowess, drawing revenue and all that type of stuff, in order for that to occur, it's going to take kids who are the 4- and 5-star recruits. It's going to take them making a huge sacrifice. A big sacrifice, man. And I think it's important for not only the parents, but for us to make the kids aware of the sacrifices they are making, right? We know the inequities. We know the inequalities on both sides. We know that the Power 5 schools have better facilities. They have, a lot of times they have what's looked at as top tier coaches that have connections to the league, to the NFL, or to the NBA. We know they have a lot of instances better weight rooms. We know they have better nutritionists, so on and so forth, better dormitories and all this and all of that, right? But when you sit a kid down, you explain to them the end goal. The end goal is for the culture to shift. It's for the rebuilding of our communities all across the board. And when you explain the importance of that to a child that's maybe not in desperate need of money. Their family not in desperate need. Their family is not in desperate need of money, but he's doing all his family doing all right. They not hurting. You explain it to a 4-star or 5-star athlete coming from a family like that. I think you can make a change that will be monumental for the HBCUs. But again, it's gonna take the 4- and 5-star athletes for the change, for the ball to start rolling. Why do I say that? Because the TVs, the journalists and all of that, they follow the 5-star, the top tier talent. They follow them wherever they go. Wherever they go. Period. If Jameis Winston were to go to my alma mater, Mississippi Valley State University, and he was flinging that ball like he was at Florida State, they were going to come to Itta Bena, Mississippi to come see what Jameis Winston was doing. Right? If Justin Fields was at Alcorn State University in Lorman, Mississippi, they were going to come to Alcorn State University and check Justin Fields out. If Cam Newton were to go to Jackson State, if he were to go to Howard, if he were to go to Bethune-Cookman, if he were to go to Prairie View A&M or Texas Southern, them camera crews is going to go to those schools. And when the camera crews follow, more resources come, because camera crews follow, you're going to get more TV games, which is going to be equal more money to put you on TV, and that money is going to be funneled into the university, right? Your school is always going to be, it's going to lead to an increase in merchandise sale, because kids want to wear their uniforms or wear the jerseys of those prominent black athletes playing at black universities, right? It's going to create a whole culture shift to where the resources can be improved at the HBCUs, because the top 10 talent are coming to the HBCUs, and all the money is being reversed or being brought into the historically black colleges, right? Which are not all across the board, which the HBCUs, the historically black colleges, are often struggling financially to the point where they got to play money games in order to get some money for the programs and for other things on campus. So it can create a huge culture shift, but at the same time, you have to explain to the young kids the sacrifices they're making, and then you explain what that change, what them coming to an HBCU can do. Not just for them, hey, you can still go to the league by going to these HBCUs, but look at what it will do for other kids coming after you, right? They don't have to just go to this one school here and there. They can go to like the schools that they may feel more comfortable at, right? They can come to a place where they really want to be and know, hey, I still can get drafted from here because I've seen such and such do it. You know what I mean? And you explain to them, and sometimes it's a lot of pressure to put on a child. It's a lot of pressure to put on a young kid. But at the same time, you could just think about the barriers. You tell a kid, think about the barriers you can break by coming to an HBCU, man. And look, I understand. If you're good enough to earn a scholarship from a Power 5 school and you don't have the resources and money at home, by all means do that, right? But I am all for promoting the 4- and 5-star recruits. I'm all for not even just the 4- and 5-star recruits, but black athletes in general. I'm all for promoting them going to HBCUs for real. No lie. What Deion Sanders, what Primetime is doing at Jackson State is phenomenal. It should be applauded. It should be commended. It's commendable for real on all accords. Deion is showing a path of prosperity and excitement, but more importantly, he's putting national attention on a historically black college, Jackson State University, right? I'm going to tell you right now, Jackson State has been and will continue playing on TV more than they ever have in the past, right? Jackson State getting coverage. They're getting talked about on ESPN, ESPN First Take, FS1 Undisputed, and so on and so forth, because Deion Sanders, an NFL Hall of Famer, one of the greatest football players to ever walk this earth, is coaching that institution. So he's bringing eyes to that university. He's bringing resources to that university. And hey, it's not only going to take just the young talented kids to come, it's going to take former professional players, right? That have that magnetic aura about them, like Deion Sanders, that have that cachet, that clout. It's going to take those top tier athletes becoming coaches and coming back to the universities and lending their services to the universities at time in order for the kids to even feel comfortable coming there. You know what I'm saying? It's going to take that. Like, okay, Jerry Rice comes to his alma mater, my school, Mississippi Valley State University. If Jerry Rice were to come to MVSU, you know what that would do for Mississippi Valley State University, the youngest institution in the SWAC conference, the Southwest Athletic Conference? My school was founded in 1950. My father is 5 years younger than my university. Super young. We don't have the resources that a lot of these other schools that have been around a long time have. We don't have the alumni that the other schools that have been around a long time have. So we are often struggling. We don't have the same resources that other schools have. So the athletes at MVSU, I knew, had to play the money games. The money games in football and basketball, they get money to be dispersed all across the institution, the school itself, not just within the athletic programs. But if Jerry Rice comes, oh man, parents may be more inclined to send their kids to go there. Like, look, Alabama ain't the only one that got top tier coaches or coaches that got connections to the league. That MVSU, that HBCU, Jackson State, got primetime Deion Sanders. Eddie George, former All-Pro running back for the Tennessee Titans. He's at Tennessee State University, right? If Jerry Rice were to be at MVSU, look at Jerry Rice. He, the greatest receiver of all time, he's at an HBCU in Itabena, Mississippi, right? If Shannon Sharp were to go, and I know he's not going to do it, he's thriving in his role in television or whatever, and I don't know if he has any desires to coach, but if he was at Savannah State, people would want to send their children to play for these prominent athletes. These former prominent athletes, you know, and it may take them, even if they don't want to lend their hand in coaching, to lend resources, to give money to these HBCUs in order for them to be on the same playing field or be on the same footing as these other predominantly white institutions. Because let's be honest, the Power 5 conferences are only Power 5. The Power 5 schools are only Power 5 schools mainly because of the athletes, for real. The black athletes that used to be at HBCUs, they all go to those. They all started coming to the PWIs eventually, and then they became on Power 5 conferences because of the Power 5 schools, because of the athletes going there. That's the reason why the athletes had all that buzzing. So if you get those 5-star, if you get a 5-star quarterback to go to HBCU, get the ball rolling. You get the ball rolling. You get the 5-star quarterback to come, then the 5-star receiver might want to come, right? You get the 5-star receiver, the 5-star running back might want to come. 5-star running back come, 5-star offensive lineman want to come, a 4-star offensive lineman, 4-star defensive back or whatever, they might want to come. And then you see things begin to shift at the institution, man. For real, man. Like, again, the black athletes are what made the Power 5 schools Power 5 schools. They made them powerful on that level, right? And then furthermore, man, like, when people like, and I understand, some people don't want their children to be the, not the scapegoat. They don't want them to be the, for lack of better words, guinea pig, or, you know, the tester for things to get the ball rolling. They're like, I don't want my kids to be the sacrificial lamb, if you want to say that. I don't want my kid to make that big of a sacrifice. I want him to go to where it's for sure he's going to get a pure great shot at the NFL. And I understand Alabama has produced a ton of pros, a ton of professional players. I understand that logic. But in order for change to be made, things got to be done differently. Right? If we all want the change that we want to see at our HBCUs, and let's be for real, these HBCUs aren't just for athletics. These HBCUs educate some of the most brilliant minds in the black community, man. A lot of the HBCUs sit in inner city neighborhoods. They sit in communities where it's majority black. So they're educating the black students of the area, educating them all across the board. Their grandmothers and grandfathers went to these HBCUs. Their mothers. You know what I'm saying? Their mothers, their fathers, their uncles and aunts. This school has been educating so many kids in the region, and they still will do that. Educating kids who come from poor and disenfranchised backgrounds. So it's even more than athletics, right? But the athletics will help bring resources to make all other departments to allow all the other departments to have the things that they need in order to be held up to high standard. Seriously. If the football team and basketball team is bringing in a ton of money, that means more money coming into the communication program or department, coming into the science department, the math department, coming into the accounting programs and all that, coming into the STEM programs, more money funnels all throughout the institution, all throughout the whole university, which is great for the HBCUs all across the board, man. And it starts. Unfortunately, we know athletics. It drives enrollment, and it drives renovations on campus. All of that. If you want the HBCUs to have the nice things, and for the HBCUs to have all the nice things that the Alabamas and Michigans and Michigan States have, it's going to take for the athletes to start coming to the HBCUs in order for them to say, you know what, we're going to make a change. We're going to do something different. Just imagine if LeBron James' son, LeBron James Jr., goes to an HBCU. All right? Just imagine if Damian Lillard, and he went to a small school, but just imagine if a Zion Williamson would have went to, like I said, Texas Southern. If he would have went to a FAMU, right? Just imagine if he would have went to a Grambling State, if he would have went to a Southern University, or an Arkansas Pine Bluff. Man, it would just, stuff would just be thriving in a way that you couldn't imagine. Zion, everybody wanted. The camera crews was following Zion wherever he went. He could have went to goddamn College of Idaho. They was gonna follow, which would have been the same thing at a HBCU, especially in basketball. In basketball, Zion could have he could have propelled a HBCU to make a NCAA tournament run by himself. Just imagine if he had RJ Barrett over there with him. Shit, they could have competed for a national championship because they that talented. You know what I mean? If kids buy in if the other kids really good and they buy in, stuff can change like an instant, right? But I heard my brother say this. My brother said, he said he would send his child to an HBCU for sure, but it also depends on the culture that's being cultivated in the sport programs. Are the coaches who care about the development of the players? Are they really taking the time necessary to develop the players properly? Are they really invested in teaching them the proper skills in a great way to make them essential pros or even give them a shot, right? And I understand that too, man. But again, it's going to take. Of course, I would want to send my child to a HBCU that I know things are being done on a serious scale. The coaches care about the development of the players for sure, and they're invested in the development of the players the right way. So that's why people sending their kids to Jackson State. A young boy, I forgot I was watching one of the if you ever seen the Barstool has done like a web series about Deion's time at Jackson State, and Deion it was kids coming from big schools trying to transfer to Jackson State, which is big, man. And when I watch the I Am Athlete podcast, I watch Channing Crowder, and Channing provides what's the word I'm looking for? He plays devil's advocate. He be like, listen, he feels like, hey, if you're gonna, it's just a lot. It's a big risk for them kids to go to HBCUs. I want to send my kids to a program where I know he's going to be coached up right. He's going to be honed correctly. He's going to have the best of everything. He's going to have the best training for staff. He's going to have the best weight rooms. He's going to have the best nutritionists and so on and so forth, because the HBCUs don't have those things. And we're all aware of that, right? But that change comes, and those changes will come when an athlete start going to those institutions, right? Or when people like Channing Crowder give money to the HBCUs, former players, Brandon Marshall, Chad Johnson, they start giving money they give money to the HBCUs, donate to the HBCUs in order to help get them on that help even the playing field out, right? But Channing, he ain't really he's for supporting HBCUs, but if his kid had a chance to go pro, he's gonna send him to the top program. And I understand who Channing Crowder is, and I like him on the show. I like the perspective that he brings. But we know Channing ain't one to be going to a sit-in during the civil rights movement. Channing doesn't strike me as a person that would be doing a Montgomery bus boycott, so on and so forth. He wouldn't be engaging in that, right? So, he's coming from a different place. However, I don't know, man. In the conversation they were having, Channing was throwing out, when the last time a black quarterback from the HBCU has been a starter or so on and so forth, right? When has a black quarterback from the HBCU excelled? Or I'm paraphrasing, but those were some of the questions he was throwing out. And I'm like, well, Steve Eric McNair came from Alcorn State University in Lorman, Mississippi, right? I remember a few years back, 06, 07, Tavares Jackson came from Alabama State, was quarterbacking with the Minnesota Vikings, right? Again, the greatest wide receiver of all time. This is older, but the greatest wide receiver of all time, Jerry Rice, came from Mississippi Valley State University. And also, Deacon Jones played his last year of football at Mississippi Valley State University as well. And Deacon Jones is the reason why the sack statistic was even created, because of Deacon Jones. I got to give credit to South Carolina State because Deacon Jones was at South Carolina State first, got into some trouble with some race issues down there, then came on to play. He played 1 year at South Carolina State and 1 year at Mississippi Valley State University before going on to play in the NFL and becoming an NFL Hall of Famer, right? And so then Channing's, and again, I mentioned Walter Payton. I didn't mention Walter Payton coming from coming from Jackson State, right? Jackson State got more Hall of Famers than Florida University, than the University of Florida. And if you ask people would, off the top of their head, would tell you Florida got more Hall of Famers than Jackson State. Florida got what, 1 Hall of Famer? For real? Jackson State got what, 4? Like 4? So that tells you, man, it's talent that come out of these HBCUs. People just don't know about it, right? Because Channing was like, in basketball or football, when the HBCU talent, woo-woo. We just had a dude from the HBCU go to the Hall of Fame just a week ago. Ben Wallace came from Virginia Union, right? Lindsey Hunter, who was the basketball coach at Mississippi Valley State University, came from Jackson State and was a lottery pick into the league. A lottery pick. You know what I mean? Rick Mahorn. You had Joe Dumars. You had several players come from HBCUs. Charles Oakley. So many different players came from all these different HBCUs, man, and made it and were able to perform well on a professional level. But I think that I wish I could have been in on that conversation at I Am Athlete, because Channing started to question. He said he don't think Deion gonna make that much of a change at Jackson State because him and being amped on the sidelines is not making a change for HBCUs. Listen. He might think that being amped on the sidelines and being into it with his team and galvanizing his group and galvanizing his players is not doing nothing for HBCUs, but I can guarantee you there's a dude sitting at home with offers from Alabama, with offers from Auburn, with offers from Michigan, with offers from Ohio State and Michigan State and Florida State and so on and so forth, right? I can guarantee you it's a kid that got offers from them schools. Watching Deion and the way Deion interacts with his team and the way he gets them amped up and the way he loves his players, they saying, damn, I want to go to Jackson State and play for that dude. I guarantee you. So I think Channing Crowder's assessment of that whole situation is inaccurate, right? Furthermore, in talking about Deion Sanders, they were talking about how Deion is not making a change. I'm like, wait a second. Deion is advocating he's trying to pay for the SWAC schools to put the kids' names on the back of their jerseys. Just recently, Alcorn State University had an outbreak of COVID on campus, right? And when the COVID outbreak occurred, they were without trainers for the football team. And Deion was like, you know what? I can pay for the school to have some trainers to come so that things could be all right, man. Them kids deserve to have the best care, the best treatment possible for injuries and so on and so forth. So I would be willing to pay out my pocket to pay for them some trainers to come to the institution. And that's the type of change that Deion Sanders brings, right? He's bringing money out of his own pocket, his cachet, his clout. Even if it don't cost him nothing, his clout can send some dudes to come over there and be trainers for real. He can pay for it or whatever. He has, though, that type of reach and that type of resources, and he got that type of money to give resources to other institutions because Deion ain't just looking out for Jackson State. He has a mind and interest he knows is bigger than just him coaching at Jackson State. Even though it's great that he's at JSU, he knows his spot at coaching, him a Hall of Famer, a surefire Hall of Famer that everybody loves from all communities, him being at Jackson State does great it's a great image and look for all HBCUs, and he has a chance to make a change across the board. And he recognizes that, right? even pairing with Michael Strahan. Michael Strahan. Y'all know Michael Strahan, New York Giant, all-time great player for the New York Giants. Michael Strahan, he pairing with Michael Strahan to get them boys tailored suits for them to wear to games and so on and so forth. You know how many kids from the hood don't have a tailored suit or none of that? And he's pairing with Michael Strahan to get those resources for those kids. And then when Shannon like, oh, he not doing a lot, that ain't doing nothing for HBCUs, I beg to differ, Shannon. That's a big difference that he's making at the institution, bringing in resources, reaching up to friends in higher places to get favors for kids and things done for kids, to get favors from, and even suggesting doing things for other institutions that he does not even coach at. That's major, man. He got Nick Saban and Troy Aikman and all them coming down, and Rex Ryan. White dudes coming to Jackson State at HBCU, invested, putting on the jerseys and putting on the shirts and having a real interest in conversations about HBCUs. Elevating them. That means something. It means something for real, man. And then when they were talking about Michael Strahan pairing up and giving them suits, they forgot to mention Michael Strahan went to an HBCU himself, Texas Southern University. I don't even know if they even mentioned that, right? So, you know, I'm gonna be real. Right, because I made a video talking about the money games and how a lot of the times the HBCUs aren't in position to compete with the Florida States and so on and so forth, all these other powerhouses. And then right after that, lo and behold, Florida State loses to an HBCU, Jacksonville State. Like that very same day, Florida State lost to an HBCU, a historically black college in Alabama, Jacksonville State. And I said, well, goddamn. Man, when I was making a video and this happens, man, that's something, man. But yeah, man, it starts with people making sacrifices, and even the young kids making sacrifices. However, I can't put this task solely on the kids, man. It's gonna take HBCU alums like myself giving back to our alma maters, giving back to the institutions that gave us an education, that allowed us to get the certifications that we need to go into the real world and the professional world and get jobs with the skills that we have learned, right? So it's going to take me and all of my other fellow HBCU alums to give back to our universities so that we can lead by example for the young kids to follow. Because if they see us be invested in our community, like, they're going to want to do the same thing, man. Like, for real, man, the black community as a whole has been fractured by a plethora of things. But having prominent black athletes and young black scholars as well, black athletes and young black scholars attend HBCUs, that can help to repair and rebuild the foundation of our communities, you know, by cultivating leaders who have the best interests of our community in their minds and in their hearts, right? That's the thing, man. Like, we can cultivate the leaders of tomorrow from all our kids going to these HBCUs and recognizing the importance of building up your community and giving back to your people and investing in your community so that, hey, we can have better things at these schools. And because some kids have no other option but to go to these HBCUs, man. They getting scholarships from HBCUs. They can't afford to go to the Ohio States, to the Harvards, to the Yales, and these other private institutions. The HBCUs are there to give them a chance at getting a quality education. Because lo and behold, people think that, you know, the curriculums are watered down at HBCUs. We don't learn this and we don't learn that. I beg to differ. You know what I'm saying? I know that because the STEM program at Mississippi Valley State University has led to several kids earning six figures coming out of college with a bachelor's. You know what I'm saying? So I know that's BS all across the board, man. But I think funneling black talent through HBCUs can be the start of our youth rebuilding our communities and leveling the playing field as a whole, man. I think it could just be funneling black talent through HBCUs can be the start of our youth, rebuilding even the black families and the black communities. The black communities in general, man. But for the playing field to be leveled, it's going to take top tier black talent to come through and make a sacrifice for the betterment of our community. Seriously, man. And that's what I leave you all with, man. I enjoyed that podcast. If you haven't seen the I Am Athlete podcast, please tune in and watch it. Let me know what you think. But let me know, man, what y'all think about this conversation that I just posed or had, or the dialogue that I just presented. Y'all let me know if y'all agree, if y'all disagree, and if your child was a top 10 player in high school, basketball or football. If they were a top 10 player in high school basketball or football, would you personally send your child to a powerhouse athletic program, or would you encourage your child to attend an HBCU, man? Y'all let me know what y'all think, man. Machiavelli Mills TV, man. I appreciate y'all for rocking with me. Y'all hit the like button. Y'all subscribe to the channel. Hit subscribe. Y'all comment. Y'all share this video, so on and so forth. Donate to the Cash App that I'm going to leave in the link or the description box below. Peace.